Roll.
Hi, welcome to another episode of Inspired Perspective. Today we have Sangay with us, and we'd love to have a little intro coming from Sangay.
Hello, my name is Sangay, and I currently use they, them, their, it pronouns, and I work as a queer youth consultant and also as a theatrical performer.
All right, cool. I have a little interesting question that I see right here. You're not only an advocate, you've also been doing theatrical performance. So how, venturing into theater has helped you, or, how you express yourself to the world?
So I started theater when I was in grade 8, which was like 2016.
Right.
So I started with Merchant of Venice. Do you
Right.
remember in schools
Yeah.
when the syllabus was brought in?
Yeah.
We did, we brought in that. So that time, I thought, doing skits and everything. I was an actor. But then I went on stage, and when you enter the stage, you're not supposed to like, and then go in. You're supposed to like calm down, and then get into character, and then go in. So the first time, it was Charmi Chera, who was my director. And then I went on stage like, and she was like, I didn't even get started, and she was like, okay, you gotta take a deep breath, get into character. And that's the only time I understood about getting into character in a movie. And I was like, okay, there's more to learn about theater in Bhutan, in my life. And then we started the journey, and slowly, I think I started to really realize how vast theater is. And then the best part about theater is that when you have so much emotion inside, you can express it. Because acting is like using whatever you have in front of you and then making it into reality. And sometimes the reason why I love acting is because it's tiresome to be yourself. It's like you don't want to be yourself sometimes. And when I act, I don't have to be Sangay, I can be the first role I had, I could be Lorenzo in love with the girl, I can be even a concept, like I can be individuality, I can be a rainbow. So being things like this which are very ambiguous, it just feels so great. And ever since then I was like, okay, let's do this. And then I continued on, and then next we did was the Wangchuk Dynasty, the story of our kings. And then actually, if I could have spoken Dzongkha better that time, if I had better understanding, if I had better, I don't know. And it's very bad me saying this because
That's okay. No.
because it's my own language, but I wasn't good at it. I could have gotten the role of, I think, the father of the first king. But then the same director asked me, "Oh, are you good in Dzongkha?" And I was like, "Man, I'm struggling, but right now, if I really focus, I can really bring it out." If I said that time, I would have learned, but I couldn't say that, and then I ended up being a teenager. I was the one saying, "Oh, what's the Wangchuk Dynasty?" So I was one of those shooters. And I continued on doing a course, 3-month course called the Black Box Theater. Heard about? So it's a team of theater performers which are being trained, especially in theater, not like movies, but in theater you have to like bring it on the spot. That's when I learned about breathing on stage. Like when you use your breathing, usually when we think acting, people think, okay, you gotta think of an incident and then replay that incident to actually, be angry, be happy, be sad. But when you use breathing, you don't have to replay those traumas, because sometimes when you replay the trauma, you get stuck in the moment. So that time, I actually remember the moment I learned about breathing. My teacher was like, okay, sometimes she just directs and you have to act on the spot. She was like, imagine your real pain, and we gotta go down, you gotta feel the floor, and then you gotta really think of it, and you keep in mind that you're in pain. So instead of using my breathing, I was like, okay, I'll bring back an incident that I thought was painful to me. And I kept on feeling sad, and then she said, scream. And then I was like, my scream was very unnatural. And the hardest thing about acting is that you have to act natural. It's like very ironic. And that time she asked, is it natural? And I was like, no, it doesn't feel natural. And that's when she talked about breathing. Like, if you really observe human beings, when they cry, we breathe faster, right?
Yeah.
When we're angry, we breathe So if you really use this when you're acting, it just makes it so easier, and you don't have to go all the way back and then going through the trauma again. So that's when I really realized it was good. And then I was part of a musical, and being part of a musical and the theater, like a basic theater, and the musical is like a bit above, because you act, sing, and dance at the same time. And I went for the audition, and do you know the song "Never Enough"? Did you watch The Greatest Showman?
But I haven't heard about it. Yeah.
So in the movie, there's a song called "Never Enough," which is a very high song.
Right.
I really practiced a lot, and I sang that. Hopefully, I got it. And then the musical started, and I thought, oh, it's going to be very easy. But then I never sing acoustic. I always sing karaoke. So karaoke, there's like music coming, right, which is recorded. But acoustic, it just comes on the spot. And that time, they asked me to sing. Okay, can you sing in this key, this key? And they were like, oh, I remember almost crying on this. They were like, they wanted me to know what key it was, and they were like, can you sing in this octave, and I don't know what octave is. Is it this? Is it this? And that's how I learned about singing, like performing singing, not just singing. And that's, now I can say that I am a performer. Before I was just an amateur, but now I can say I'm a performer. So that's how my journey has been in theater. It's very mixed up.
That's remarkable because for me at least, I have no idea about the theatre scenario in Bhutan. And then, getting the insights from you, it looks like there is a hope. And I really hope that a lot of young people get into it. Like for yourself, like you said, you beautifully portrayed how you developed yourself, how you improved yourself, because you didn't have that background before. On that note, would you like to say something? Like there may be some, like you mentioned, you got into theatre when you were very young, you were in class 8, right? And then during this time, 13, 14?
18.
Yeah. Most people, most teenagers, 13, 14, they are at this point in their life where they are not that confident. We at that age we tend to think a lot about what other people think. We tend to be very anxious, and we just tend to not that upfront about expressing ourselves. So, would you like to say something on that, like how you? Any youth, a 14-year-old guy comes to you and says like, I'm interested in something, but I'm really lacking a confidence right now, I'm young, so how do I get into it? So any advice would you like to give? Any tips?
I think the first I would like to give is, before you go on stage, you're nervous. This is a good sign. Because if you're not nervous, it doesn't go well. Because you're overconfident that time. So being nervous is very important, because all of that nervousness, when you go on stage, becomes energy. The energy which will come out of you.
I love that.
So that's why don't be it's alright, it's actually a good sign that you're nervous, because it means that you're preparing for something, preparing to do something great, and then you have the energy ready. So that's the first thing. It's alright to be nervous. The second thing is that the stage is like, what do I say? People don't know what happens on the stage. So whatever happens on the stage, only you will know if it's a mistake.
Interesting.
The audience will never know it's a mistake.
Interesting.
So if you act and you miss a line, if you act like you're missing a line, then the audience will know you're missing a line. But if you act like the line is never there, the audience will know it's never there. So even during speeches, if you miss like one line you're supposed to say, but you forgot to say it, if you keep on saying it, no one will know it's a mistake.
You're just too involved. Yeah.
So that is the power of the stage. The stage is such a powerful scene that you will, if you have control of it, then no one can say you're wrong. Because you are the one performing, you are the one speaking from it. So that's why I take control of the stage, and you can take control of what you say and the audience itself. So I think I would like to tell them that. Plus, being on stage and being off stage, there's like two immense feelings. Like off stage, you are just you, but on stage you can be anyone. That is the
have that power.
That is the power. That's the freedom of being on stage. That's what I like to say. And when you really feel it, and when you even when you're dancing, singing, whatever you're doing, if it's on stage, when you really feel it, you'll even forget the audience is right there. So I think that's what I want to say.
Really getting into the moment and the character or the concept, as you said, no? It's amazing. It's really nice. The power the stage has for the performer to connect with the people, the audience, and you really said something beautifully. The audience wouldn't really know about what mistake somebody made or they didn't. It's about conjuring a story or a scenario, and it's upon the performer. Beautiful, but really like it.
And most of the times, people say, look at the audience, right? It's most important to keep your eyes like the audience is here,
Right.
here.
Just about
Like, look beyond them.
beyond them. Okay, don't look at them.
Like if you're doing a speech, then yes, have little eye contact. Is that important? But when you're performing, if you still want the audience to connect with you, if you look over them, they'll feel like they're looking at you, but you're not actually looking at them, and that will give you the audience the illusion that okay, he's talking to someone, she's talking to someone, but is it me? Or is it like someone else? That's the illusion that we want to create.
Interesting tips.
Yeah. Along that point, we are an advocate of LGBT plus community in Bhutan. A very active member. And other than that, you have your own passion in theatre, right? As a performer. So, how do you balance it out? And then, how do you balance it out? And then, how do you is there any connection with it helps you being a performer and then being an advocate? Is there something linked where you have put that knowledge that you have, your skills that you have as a performer in your advocacy? Something.
First of all, let's talk about balance because
Sure.
it's really funny that you asked me the question because I've been really not balancing it, and I've been, I have been forced to leave certain institutions because of that. In theatre, you have to be very disciplined, and discipline is number one because you have to make it. And even if you miss a rehearsal, then it is your duty to learn it. No one will teach you that. You have to go to your friends, you have to learn the steps. And it was very surprising, I almost cried that time. And then, if they say, okay, today we're gonna perform, you have to clear 1 or 2 weeks ahead. And then if you have meetings which are reoccurring throughout the months, again and again and again, and if you have theatre like that, it is not, not able to balance it. And due to that, I was forced to leave because I had to choose. I had to leave a lot of institutions. And then, what was the question?
How does the skills?
Oh, the skills, yes.
Help out with the character roles.
So, what similarity that I can see between the two is advocacy and theatre. Basically, it's creating visibility and making people see things which are quite, which might be very concrete in their mind, and to break it in front of them. So that's that way. Theatre and advocacy is very similar. If you act on a stage in front of someone and really convince them about your actions. For example, if you're acting as I said before, a concept. For example, let's say feminism. If I, as who I am able to act as feminism, a concept, and usually a person cannot be feminism. Feminism is a part of person, a part of a person. But if I can act like it, then you can see the diversity in it. So that's how I like to use acting and my advocacy skills. I think the last monologue I did was a combination of both. Because it was my story, but also the story of our communities. I think you were there for my last
last performance.
You were there.
RUB, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that time, what I really wanted to do was talk about the things which are hidden under the rug. And there are so many stories. There was one line where there was one stanza where I said, you were locked in the bathrooms, only for the walls to hear your screams. And then you try to hurt yourself, and other people hurt you, and then you try to, you were, let's say, touched by other people, only for your screams to just go into the air. So that one stanza describes so many untold stories of our communities. And then through that monologue, I was able to. Let me just say this phrase before I say it. So there was a phrase by Karl Marx that says, "If you take a personal issue serious enough, then you also solve a social issue." So that's how LGBT plus I think started, because we were being pushed around too much, and then we said, "Okay, I'm done with it." One person said that, and then 2%, and then 3%, and then the community formed. So just like that, I think that's what I wanted to do with my monologue. Share my story, but my story will also tell the story of others. And in the end, we'll tell the story of a community. So I think that's how we like exchange in theater and advocacy together. And I love doing work like that because it makes me feel grateful on both ends. Like I worked hard on both ends, but you know, when it combines together, I'm like, okay, I am two identities, but I am also one.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Together.
Interesting. Also, it's interesting to know, no, right? One person can be, I mean, just one role or one concept does not define a person.
Yeah.
There are so many things one person can be.
We have different versions of ourselves, and then just to stick to one identity, I think it's not good, because at the end of the day, we're human beings, we're social creatures, you know, we like to explore things. So just to define yourself as I'm this and I'm that, I think it somehow puts you into the box. Anything you want to add on?
Since we did not get this earlier, we would like to know a little bit about your schooling, and then your, you know, who do you live in Thimphu with, stuff like that.
Well, it started in a very interesting way.
Sure.
I was actually supposed to finish schooling a year earlier than expected. I was in Thimphu Primary School first, and then there was like PPA and PPB. So PP, I think B was kindergarten, and PPA was like pre-primary. And I saw the toys and I went to PPB, which was kindergarten. So I remember fighting for toys, like everything, and then I went to Jong school. And then I studied PP again. And then in Jong, I was there for 11 years. I remember where to, like, you know, run away from, all the holes, how to run away, because, you know, they write your name. I know how to do that. I know which teacher to go to, you know, who was like who's very nice to us, which teacher not to go to, how to like really get what we want as students, which is quite hard sometimes. And then I went to Bhutan. With Bhutan, I actually learned more about myself, which is my favorite part, because I came out to more people and I explored more opportunities there. And it was really nice, but then it went down because I class grade 12, COVID-19. Oh my God. I remember all the classes went from 45 minutes to 1 hour. Which was sad and happy because I dropped maths. And maths used to be a block, and I spent 52 hours. And then I just really wanted to get out of high school, because high school was 1.3 years for us during COVID. Because it went from March to the next March. Oh my God. I graduated in March. Can you believe it?
That's okay.
Usually we'll be happy from December, you know? And usually it's like this, even in class 10. December is my birthday. So December we're like, oh, let's go for my birthday. And then 2020 came. And then my birthday was like, no one wished me.
Everyone's birthday was at home.
Mine too. Was it, did you guys do online learning or?
The first batch. Oh my God. I did every Google Classroom assignment, but I never watched a class in PBS2. Sorry. My friends used to keep like stands in front of the TV and record it. I used to sleep in front of the TV.
Interesting. The classes were given through PBS2.
Okay,
I didn't know that.
And my teacher used to be like, oh, I taught this in PBS2. Did you listen? I was like, madam.
Active moment for all the students.
And then she would give questions from PBS2 for us to do in our class. I was like, I can't do that.
You're always a rebel.
Oh, and I'll tell you one of my favorite stories from high school, how I dropped maths. And I think
Yeah, sure.
the audience will connect to that. So at class 11, we have to take maths.
Right.
And I didn't want to take maths, but I had to. And in class 12, there was a teacher. As soon as she came, apparently her student the previous year got 100 out of 100. As soon as she came in the class, she was like, I also expect 100 out of 100. And she starts writing 100 in the blackboard. I'm like, so much pressure, and we didn't even start. It wasn't even the first class, you know? And then we started, what was the first topic? Oh, it's called permutation.
I don't remember. I'm bad at math. I hated math.
Same. Permutation, and then the next topic was combination. And after that, it was permutation, combination together.
Yeah.
So permutation, the way I remember it, I don't know how it is now, how it really is that you have a statement, and then you have to bring the numbers yourself, and then solve it. And I remember asking my teacher, Madam, where did this number come from? And she's like, from here. Madam, mine is not coming, I said. And then
Oh my god.
I was still stuck in permutation, and then one time I was really sad. My head was about to burst, and the calculator was right in front of me, and I was like, I couldn't trust myself. So I did 1 + 1 is equal to 2. And I was looking at the calculator, and then she hit me with a textbook, and she's like, you don't even know what 1 + 1 is, Madam. When it comes to maths, I don't even trust myself.
I mean, I have a similar story. You remember that LHS is equal to RHS thing? I don't know what it's called, but we have to.
Left hand, right hand.
Yeah, we have to solve the equation, and then you have to at last know which is wrong, and then you have to make it equal LHS and RHS. I used to do that, and then mine will never come equal. So I was just like one time, and that's proposed to it, not just like so hence not proven.
No.
Because at the end we had to write that, no, like we had to make it equal, and then hence proved, and then hence not proved. If it's not proved, it's their job to prove it. So I do have such stories regarding math, but you know, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter whether you are good at math. I mean, I'm not saying that you shouldn't be, of course, like, but it's not everyone's thing, you know. And then just because someone is not good at math or science, that doesn't mean that that person will not amount to anything in their life. Like, some people are creative, some people are not. So, yeah. And then also teachers need to be a little less, you know, they shouldn't be that strict. Like, because in order to make a student to love the subject, you have to make it, deliver it in such a way that the student will cope up, right? I think most of the reason why I was so afraid of math is like, since from the very beginning, I think 4th, 5th grade, my math teachers, they were all strict. So I had this inherited fear that, okay, I'm not good at math, I hate numbers and all that. So yeah, it's pretty funny.
Stick to you.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm scared of math. No, I'm scared of Sangay.
So that time, after that teacher beat me, I remember staring into the mountains. That mountain, you know, yeah. I was looking there, and I was like, oh, maths, they dropped their women, I have to drop maths. And then COVID happened, I was like, no thank you, I'm not gonna learn online. Dropped. I feel so good about it now.
Yeah, exactly.
But when it comes to my own projects, I never do budgeting. Always make other people do it. Because it's like so good. And then Excel, I'm not good at Excel or numbers. And then in Excel, you have to use both together.
Yeah.
My friend's so good at it.
I do that too. Like whenever I'm like a client calls me, right, and then okay, I have this project, and the first question is like, is there finance related? If it's finance related, I don't care how much money you offer me, I'm not going to do it. Like, better find someone else, and I'll do the theory part. So.
Yeah, well, I think eventually, you know, you find your own strengths, and you know, you find your own passion, and then you work on it, and then you'll shine, I guess. You know, you gotta keep moving, keep doing stuffs, you know, that. Okay, where am I even going with this? But yeah, you do eventually find your sweet spot. So.
So, like throughout your journey till now, you know, as a performer, as an advocate, you know, as a student, and then I'm pretty sure you're pretty popular on social media as well, right?
Oh no. I was like, yes.
People do know you. No, come on. You're a familiar face out there on social media. People do know you. A lot of, especially people your age, do know you. And then it's quite, it's very remarkable that at this age you have made yourself such an image in society. It's like people know you through that. But of course, the way you look at one person on social media and then knowing them through social media and their work and then knowing them personally, it's not like same as well. So just wanted to know, like throughout your journey, is there any milestones like you have achieved or you have learned where it has shaped you as a person who you are today? Like your personal development, maybe it can be your advocacy work, maybe it can be your theater passion, your work, something that you have like learned and that made you change certain perspectives about things, that you look at things or yourself.
I think the first thing I would say is that when it comes to my work, I like to push my work and I have to have my face in it. That's why I have to be everywhere. Some people think, I want to be popular, but I want my work to be popular, I just want to be in the corner. So I think that's what I want to say. The second thing is, the thing after asking the question, I just think that just came into my head is, I worked in a restaurant for 3 months. You know the place where they sell laughing, opposite to Clock Tower?
Laughing House.
Laughing is down, no? Opposite. There's a hotel there. And I used to work there for 3 months, and then there, I remember knowing people for who they really are. I was a dishwasher. And I really wanted to experience, because when you're a dishwasher, people never look up to you.
Yeah.
People just think, oh, you're just a dishwasher. And I wanted to place myself in a position like that to see how people really are. And I started washing dishes, and I saw many faces, different faces, diverse faces. And I remember knowing patience from there, because some customers were so annoying. But then we had to be kind, because we have to respect the customers.
Yeah, the service industry.
But I also remember being forgived a lot of times, because I used to break a lot of glasses. If they, cut from my pay, I would have lost some money. But they never cut from my pay, and then it just feels like, because I was the only one there. It wasn't like a family restaurant like my family there. It was me alone, and then a very new environment. And then I realized, this must be how it is to go in a new environment alone. So I think that is a milestone that started all of my other milestones. Because that's when I realized, okay, everyone is different, but you don't have to be different to them. Because I think that's where I learned being kind more. Because people are people, and people shape people, and that's how we just are. And we can't just be rude to every person, even though they were so rude to us. And I remember this one moment. The first time I wore nail polish was in that restaurant. My friend gave me this silver glittery nail polish, and it was like, just wear it, just try it out. And I wore it, and I remember wearing it this hand, because I used to wash my hand just like this, so it'll be less impacted here, and this hand will be not affected. And I remember wearing it and washing dishes, and I was running my hands into the water, and I was just looking at it. I was like, oh, it looks very beautiful. It felt very comfortable to wear something which I was told never to wear, but it just felt right, And that's when I really started to question what is right in society. Because this is where I found my right. So what else is there? And that's when a lot of questions came, and then I started to really look in the perspective, look at the world through a perspective that is my own, instead of what the society has taught me. And that is where I actually learned how to unlearn.
Beautifully put. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think like we do have to learn, unlearn, relearn a lot of things throughout our life, like journey in itself. You want to add on?
Well, yeah. You said something about finding your right, and finding your way. So this also leads us to asking you about your coming out journey. And yeah, how would you like to start? How would you like to narrate your coming out journey?
I think it was in darkness. I started that. 18 years of my life, when I look back into it, it's like little bright spots, but darkness. You see those little good things, but it's mostly dark. That's why I really don't like looking back into my past, unless it's necessary. And then I have to look into my past because that's where because that's one of the reasons I am how I am today. And there's a lot of trauma there, which is like affecting me sometimes, so I have to look back. I'll say a letter. 2020 is one of the best years for me. Go to this. Because I got a lot of time to myself when I was not doing assignments. Or when I was like procrastinating a lot, I was just looking at my laptop and I was like looking. I have a blank page. I was staring at a blank page for like hours. You know how when you're working, you just want to focus, but then you just drift off? This is how I work sometimes, even right now. I have to like stare, and then I zone out, and then talk. When it comes, I just continue. So I think somewhere I wanted to write this letter, and then I was gonna write like a book, but the first page was very close to my heart. And then I wanted to show someone. I wanted to really show someone. And I took the laptop to my neighbor's house. Because my neighbor deserves my coming out. Because I think during my feminine stage, whenever I was feminine, she was always there saying, "Oh, I'm sorry." So she deserved to hear it the most. And we've been friends for like, I don't know, 20 years now. And then I remember taking the laptop to her house and the file was named secret, okay? And then I said, "I want to tell you a secret." She was okay, and I showed her the laptop and I searched secret in my my computer. And then she was like, "Oh, the file name is also secret and you want to tell me a secret?" And I was like, "Yes." And then the file came. I pressed on it and I was like, "Can you please read this and tell me how you feel?" And I was like, it was like a lot of journeys summarized together. It was a lot of darkness together, and then like me finally telling, "Okay, I'm gay and everything." And then she read that, and then she just kept the laptop at the side and she hugged me.
Aww.
And oh my god, I cried for 30 minutes. We were crying so much. And she was like, "Why didn't you come out earlier?" I was like, "I don't know, I just didn't feel comfortable." And she really was there. I think, and that's the first coming out I remember, which really hugs me, really hugs me when I remember it. And then even before that, I had a lot of coming out moments which weren't even like coming out. My friends were like, "Do you like him?" Yes. And they're like, "Oh, it's okay." I also had such coming out. I had many coming out, like different types of coming outs to like different people. And when it comes to my parents, the same letter, like edited a bit. And then my board exam, and I still remember the day. My last board exam was on March 13th, 2021. On March 13th, instead of reading Zohatu, I was writing the letter. Because at that moment, coming out was more important than reading Zohatu. But I still did study, I still studied. But then I printed it out, and I read it to my friends, like close friends in my high school. And then I went home and I was like, "Everyone sit down, sit down." And I kind of scolded them. I was like, "Sit down, this is very important." And I read out the letter. And my family, before I came out, they didn't know better about the community. So they did call me certain names, you know the name, right?
Right.
CHAK. Those words were said many times to the point where I couldn't hear it for a year. So that time, I think because of that, we felt really guilty.
Right.
So after it came out, I was very silent. After I read the letter, it was very, very silent. And then my sister ran to me saying she was sorry because my whole family did that to me. And another sister ran to me and she said sorry, she was crying, and then my mom was right in front of me. I was like, Mom, what do you think? She was like, I don't know. And I was like, but just remember, no matter who you are, where you are, I will always love you.
Oh my God.
I don't understand that.
Right.
I don't remember crying that much, because I feel like I came out too much before that, enough for me to like not cry in the moment. I remember crying a little bit, and that's the first time I saw my mom cry. My mom is like a strong woman, very independent, very empowered, and then to see her cry, I mean, it was sad that she had to cry, but it's better that she had to know. That's why. And that's how it came out. Even my high school coming out stories are quite nice. In the library there used to be like a huge space and like little separate rooms. And then there was one time I actually confessed to a guy in high school.
Right.
Which I like during the COVID also.
So many stories revolving around COVID. Interesting.
And I brought her to the room because she saw me going to the guy into one of the library rooms. And then I told her that I actually wanted to clear a doubt. But it was actually for me to confess. Confess to like, just to like, confess to, what's the word I'm looking for? This is closure. Confess for a closure, not confess for a, So I told her, do you remember that time when I went with this guy to that room? And she was like, yeah, I just went to clear a doubt. And I was like, there was not a doubt. It was because I had a crush on him very much. And she was like, oh my God, you had a crush on him. I was like, yes, I had a crush on him, that's why. And I was very tearful that time, but she was like, oh, I didn't know. I was like, it's a bit obvious sometimes. I was very obvious when I was in high school. Yeah. But I just want to say that coming out is socially constructed. It's like, sometimes you need to have a brand. If it matters that much to you, you can have a brand. But if you just want a simple one, then it's always in your hands. And then you don't have to like, sometimes you don't even have to come out. You can just say, oh, I'm this, done. You can just say, oh, I like this man, done. And something I realized through my work is that people understand coming out as a very teenager thing. And I just want to say that you can come out at any age, literally. Because right now I meet old people in their 60s or 40s, 50s. They're like, oh, I'm married, but I can't come out. And that's not a problem. Because your body is the one who tells you how you are. You are not, you cannot know about it. Sorry. And then if you realize later it is not your fault, that's how our bodies work. Sometimes we know things later, sometimes we know things earlier. But the main point is that you don't ignore those feelings. Because if your own body is communicating to you very loudly and clearly and you're like ignoring those signs, then it will really hurt you. And if you're married, then I feel like there's opportunities where you can talk about it. Or you yourself can go to therapy where you can actually talk to someone about how you're feeling. And then make decisions on your own. But just to say coming out has no age.
Yeah. Like, it's fascinating how our body communicates to us at times. The thing that we're ignoring from our mind, the body tries to bring out. And not just regarding the sexuality, but even like when you're depressed, when you're tired, when you're like going through something and you're just like trying to be strong, focused, and like no, but like your body communicates, okay, it's time to take rest, it's time to do this. Yeah. I actually wanted to know, because when you shared your story, you said like it was really a little difficult for your parents to understand the whole thing, right? Because of the generation gap. And then I also feel like the kids today, youths today, they kind of have some idea on LGBT. They may not relate it personally, but they do have, through the social media awareness and everything, they kind of know, like, okay, this is what it is. But for older generation, still like a lot of well-educated people, actually, people very well-educated, I find them still difficult to grasp the concept. They may not be totally against, they support and everything, but still it's very difficult for them to understand, like, okay, how does a guy have feelings for me? How does a girl have feelings for me? And what is like them and all that. So it's difficult for them to. So through your advocacy, have you ever run into those kind of people? And then another thing is, when you are advocating some about LGBTQ, is there any difference you see among the responses you get from the younger generation and the older generation? And how do you actually make it easier, or how do you deliver it in a way where even the older generation gets the concept, like they understand? How do you make them more understand what actually it is?
I think first of all, yes, I feel there's a difference. Second of all, I like having the community members lead. Because if a straight person talks about LGBT+, it's great, but it's not as impactful as a queer person doing it.
Representation matters.
So I want them to lead, and then I love creating a space where you are allowed to hate. And you will
Okay, that's interesting.
Stay with me on this.
Okay.
Let's say there are 3 types of ice creams: strawberry, vanilla, chocolate. So you like strawberry, you like vanilla, I like chocolate. But you hate other flavors, but I like all the flavors, and you're okay with everything. I cannot tell you to hate. I cannot tell you to not hate the flavors. I can only tell you to not force it on other people. When it comes to you, I can't force you to be okay. You gotta say yes or no. Even maybe is okay. I mean, for myself, I can choose, but I cannot force it on others. So when I say I give an environment where people are allowed to hate, because we were born in an environment. If we were born in an environment where taught hate, where we are taught hate, it's normal that we will automatically hate. But I cannot. If people want to learn about it, and when they come with whatever they understand, I cannot be like, oh, that's wrong. If they're taught that way, it's right there in their own head, and it's my job to facilitate and to ensure that they have their own opinions, but not to the point where they discriminate other people. So let me say like this: I love some straight people. I hate some straight people, but I don't hate straight people. Just because of those straight people I hate, I'm not gonna be like, okay, kill all the straight people, right? So I have an opinion, but I'm not gonna be discriminating. So just like that, people who accept LGBT+ or support LGBT+ is great. But if you don't support it, it's also great. If you don't support it and don't discriminate, it's great. Like if you hate it, it's great as long as you keep it to yourself. Because if you go on the streets and then I have to intervene. That's where I come in. But if you just say I hate it, there's no problem with me. Because you are allowed to an opinion, but not to an opinion which harms others. So that's where I balance old and new. Because they think that, oh, support Trabigo. So if you keep on telling everyone to support and then shove it in their face, advocacy doesn't work like that. But if you have an environment where people can speak as who they are, and then you facilitate the conversations where they're able to like listen to each other, that's where you can actually find diversity in their opinions, but also where they can intersect. I joined Core Voices Bhutan without any experience, and they were very welcoming with that. And they were like, oh, they sat down with me. They were like teaching me a lot of things about whatever they knew, and they were so accommodating with those. As a mentor, especially one of the best mentors I had, they were like, know your privilege. That's when people with them and LGBT+ comes in. If I go and tell an old person who grew up in a homophobic environment, okay, you gotta support that. They don't know LGBT+ enough for them to support it and for them to not hate it. So I have to tell them first what it is. Then I can say, then I can really know how they feel. Even when it comes to my own pronouns, they, them. In Bhutan, is still understanding the concept of transgender. Keep non-binary and other trans identities aside. Transgender itself is complicated with she to he to she, which can be very hard, and I do understand that. But when it comes to they them, I cannot force people to say it because we are not born in that environment. And if I force them to say it, then it's like telling a child, why can't you speak? Because they don't know how to do it yet, but they can learn. So what I like to do when it comes to those situations is I like to learn with them. Like if someone doesn't know what they them means, I like to tell them and then use it together and grow together. I can't be like, oh, shout at them because that doesn't work anymore. That's what I like.
Yeah, when the pronouns, when it first came about, when people started talking about it, it was relatively new here in Bhutan, no? Advocacy level had not really reached like elsewhere. So the pronouns, of course, it kind of becomes a little difficult because it comes out of comes naturally, and what we're taught, and it's like so many years of being taught what is he, what is she. So even myself, I have difficulty sticking to the pronouns that the other person would like to be called as. I do want to be a little mindful about it, but of course I'm allowing myself to learn it and let it come out naturally. So yeah, totally. I think people do need a little time to adjust and the level of awareness. Do you find any difference right now? The level of awareness back then, when Pride Bhutan, Queer Voices, they weren't there, and then they started their journey, they started their advocacy work, and right now, do you see a lot of difference? Do you see little?
I like to describe the journey of Bhutan's LGBT+ as there's like three things.
Right.
Bhutan was very discriminatory at first because they didn't know better. And then there's right now acknowledging, and there's accepting here. So Bhutan is an acknowledgement. There is visibility, there are conversations, but there are not recognitions of our needs. So Bhutan acknowledges the LGBT+ community. That's what I would say. Because politically, there are not enough measures that meets our needs. Like for example, if a transgender woman goes into a she bathroom, there's still problems there. When a transgender woman goes into a public place on Wednesdays, when it's free, they question whether you're a man or a woman.
Right.
So it can be still complicated, but I feel like we're still progressing, and I feel like in 10 years or maybe more beyond that, you might enter the acceptance phase.
So there are 3 stages. Is that right?
For me, I describe it that way.
Okay. But it's easier to understand it this way. First is
Discrimination.
right. Second is
Acknowledgement.
Acceptance.
Acceptance.
Right. It helps me understand too. Yeah.
Along with that, in near future, what do you see? What are your aspirations in your own personal life, not as a part of LGBT community or advocate for LGBT, but your own personal life and your artistic career? Where do you see yourself?
I want to see myself grow more. Growth. I really want to see growth. I don't know if you can see this. I'll read it out once. If your younger self saw you right now, he, she, they, it would be immensely proud. Immensely all caps. Because through my life, I have been he, I have been she, I am gay right now. I've been through many diverse stages. And I want to say this again. I want to be able to say this again. So I want to grow that much, where the version I am right now is proud of the version of me who has already grown. So I want to reach that far, and I feel like there's a lot of obstacles, but I have a lot of hope, because till now I have faced a lot of issues, especially being a high school graduate, working in a field which is quite complicated. I faced a lot of issues, but I still grew in those environments, and I am now credible to the work that I do as an advocate and as a consultant. So I want to see myself grow academically, where people can't even question my credibility. First of all, I want to see that as an advocate. But in my future setting, I want to see myself in bigger platforms. And right now, what I know compared to what theater is internationally is very small. And I want to learn so much more. Like singing, dancing, acting, I want to divide them into separate things and learn. Because right now, I just know how to sing. I don't know how to sing.
Love that. Okay.
And then, because in order to really sing, you need to hear. You need to hear music. You need to feel the music. You need to like differentiate the music. And that's what I learned. Actually, I learned that in dance. And my dancing, passion just started last year. I started with whacking. And whacking is like a style of dancing which is like quite interesting because it was part of the movement, the early movement of the LGBT plus somewhere in the world, where they were really driven underground, but they started this dancing style called whacking, which they allowed to express themselves. And then when I sometimes whack to different music, I can hear the rhythm, and you hear the beat, and then the instruments is a separate thing. So I want to learn more about dance where I can actually say I'm a dancer. Because right now I can't say I'm a dancer because I don't have enough foundation to say that. And acting, right now compared to in these three categories, I'm furthest in acting because I started early. I really want to see that grow more. I want to see, there is something called a switch actor, where when they're off stage, they're like, they're not been prepared. But on stage, bam, they just get in the character. And then they go off stage, they don't even have to breathe, they just are that great. I want to see myself become that.
Effortless.
Yes. So I have so many dreams, and I have to take it slow first. I have to take it slow because right now I feel like I'm doing too much, and my mental health, it's like, my mental health is like this, and it just drops. And usually in a year, it's like June, July, August. My mental health just recently recovered, and during that time only I tend to drop, and I realize that I've been taking things too fast paced. I have to slow down and really enjoy the progress. And I feel like I have to do that more. I want to see myself, but I want to see myself in different countries. Because something I realized while traveling to different countries is that in Bhutan I am one of the few who really knows LGBT plus. But in another country, whatever I know is small, and that gives me just pumps me out because in Bhutan I have to always be like, oh, what's LGBT plus? It's like lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender plus. I have to do that every day. I'm kind of sick of it because I am I'm the only resource here, and there's nothing I can learn from. But as soon as I go outside, it's like, there's so many more resources like I can learn, and I want to see myself travel to those resources to learn more, and I want to become more open-minded. Because every time I travel, my mind is just opened up. And it feels so great to like come back with an open mind, fresh start, and a different perspective in whatever I do. So I want to see myself become so many things, so many pressure, but I feel like.
Do you feel that, a human, a person, when he is known for his work, advocacy, or belongs to certain community, comes from certain group, and if he starts being known only through work and then what he does, it becomes like kind of polarized. Like people will know. Like for a lot of people, I'm sure they know you only through LGBT community. They're like, okay, he's an advocate, but there is more to you, right? And then how a person should find the balance where you go like, okay, I'm more than this. Okay, I happen to be gay, I happen to be transgender, I happen to be lesbian, but come on, at the end of the day, I'm human, I'm just like you. But too much advocacy also makes that a little different. Like for certain, maybe for some people, they'll be like, okay, we are LGBT plus, they have this certain group, maybe we don't belong here. So how the LGBT plus community can be more inclusive in some ways, and then also change that concept that, okay, other than our sexuality, We are human beings at the end of the day. We have a normal life like you. We have ups and downs. We have friends. We have interests just like you. Just because we are LGBT doesn't make us any different from you. Because at times what happens is like there's a difference between supporting something genuinely and supporting something because we feel pity or something, you know.
That's true. That's
yeah.
true.
And then sometimes people be like, oh, I want to support LGBT because it's a trend. First thing. Secondly, I want to support like, oh, he's so nice. I am like, you know, he's this, and all that. So, you know, too much advocacy at times comes out as a preachy and trendy things. How to keep balance, like, especially on social media?
First of all, I don't use social media much, so I just put out whatever I want, and then people know me through that. It's like you can be anything you want. Whatever, everything that you do, you are yourself. It doesn't matter. Like if I'm gay, but I'm Sangay loday. If I'm a lesbian, but I'm Sangay loday. Because even if I'm an actor, if I'm Sangay loday, then Sangay loday will define the acting, not the acting defining Sangay loday. So it's alright to like dive into different things, and then you can't control what you post, right? You just post. Sometimes it might be more about advocacy, sometimes more about acting. But at the end of the day, if I am Sangay loday enough, I think that if you're authentic about yourself, like if you do things, if you laugh the way you just want to laugh, not just like, you know, like our thoughts, like, you know, you just, because for me, the thing that really makes me is that I sing whatever I want, I dance whatever I want. I just, if I hear a music that I really like, I start dancing, and I'm very sassy sometimes, and it can come off rude, but it's just me. So if I am me in these environments, then I will define these environments through me, and those environments just become a part of who I am, not me, but a part of me. So I think if you're really original, then that originality will take you, and the other things will only become part of your originality.
I was talking about how LGBT community can be more inclusive of other people, because for me at least, what I think is diversity is not just putting this different people of different skin who think the same way. That's not diversity. Diversity of thought matters too, right? So yeah.
Yeah, but we do have to acknowledge the fact that there are issues that are like really issues, and that needs like that amount of maybe advocacy level and awareness level, that amount of you know, they need to come out that strongly enough for people to realize. So yeah, that's there too.
That's there.
Maybe for us to, I think, balance out our thoughts. Yeah, well, I mean, the LGBTQ community here, and you've been part of the community for some time now. How being part of this community has helped your personal growth?
I think as soon as I came out, it became very difficult because I never found a space. I just thought about coming out, and I felt very ostracized. I felt very like I didn't have any space where I could be with people like me. I remember that one day I was like called to facilitate. I remember being with this organization, and they facilitated a dialogue on misogyny, which means sexual orientation, gender identity, and expression, and sex characteristics. So I remember facilitating a dialogue on that. And they were like, yeah, it was just fun. And during that, I learned about Pride Bhutan that time. And then I went to Pride Bhutan, I saw people, diverse identities, and all that. I was like, so taken aback, because in my mind, there's only men and women. But I saw people who are beyond men and women. And now I was like, oh, people who are identities that are diverse exist. And I really wanted to work for it. And I also thought, I was invited for Queer Talks, which is like a platform where a queer individual is interviewed and the story is brought to light. So during that time, I learned about more communities, and that's when I started working for the community. And I was like, then I found a space where I was surrounded by people just like me, and I was working to bring changes for those people. And then it's like this: if you want to help someone, you need to be with someone like them. Like if you want to help someone who's LGBT plus, you have to surround yourself with them because you want to know more about their problems. And then I was able to do that. I was able to really know how they feel, how they are, what it is to be queer in Bhutan. And then I realized, oh, okay. At first, I don't know if you heard about this phrase. It's called gender euphoria, where you are happy with your sexuality or gender, and you feel good about it. You know how when we're straight, we won't even think about, okay, I'm attracted to a man or a woman. I'm happy. You don't think about that much. But when you're queer, when you fought for it, and when you finally feel happy about it, it's called gender euphoria. And our community has a lot of stories about not fitting in, not feeling comfortable, fighting for it, but in the end, to feel happy about that, it's a long progress. And for me, to be able to feel that way in a community was amazing. So that's been my experience with the community. Comfortable, I would say.
Right, interesting. Sangay, how you mentioned, right? You mentioned something like people like me. When I entered the community, I found people like me. How can we, like cisgender, female, or whatever the term may be, how can we be, your people? How can we better adjust, better, make it easier? Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Right.
How can
I was about to say be LGBT plus. You can be like that.
I guess it goes back to how the LGBT community can be more inclusive, because at times it is more explicit. Like it's like, okay, this is different community. That okay, only people from LGBT community, they are doing their own thing, they are supporting each other, and then some people means that it's not for us. Like, so it looks a little exclusive, a little different. But if it becomes more inclusive, then it opens the avenue for communication. Even like you can bring in people who came from different generation who does not even understand what LGBT community is. You can have an open sort of communication with them where. So how people or society who are not part of LGBT community can help LGBT community?
So right now, how the movement is going, it's like this. Straight people have privilege, and that privilege gives you benefits to be who you are wherever you are. And that can give you like being yourself without being discriminated. So having that privilege means you can also provide a platform. And that platform is where we can be LGBT plus. So I feel like right now straight people can give us more spotlights. Because if you want the community to improve, we have to be in the center. Because if you support and if you say I support, then you are using us as a foundation. And it's not going the right way. And I feel like when you say sometimes it's only LGBT plus, it's because some people who are part of our trainings or workshops or events are comfortable only with people like us. And we're unable to bring straight people inside because it might trigger them because we have certain traumas. But I just want to say we have like many allies and we always bring them to those events. But sometimes when the events become, when we really want people to feel comfortable, we need to like kind of make it exclusive. But it's not because straight people are bad, it's because we have our own trauma with straight people. And for someone who's just coming out, it's not easy in front of someone who is not like you. For example, if you have mental health issues, if I'm depressed and you're depressed, it'll be easier to talk to you than if you're not depressed. So it's just like that. It's not that straight people are not included, it's just sometimes we need our own space for our dialogues to happen.
Yeah, I think we need to respect that space as well. Interesting.
I mean, it's a new information for me.
It's so much to learn, honestly speaking. So much to learn.
Because sometimes, there's a saying, little knowledge is dangerous. So when you do not know enough about the certain thing, and even if your intention is good, something you are trying to say something is a good intention, it comes up as a Twitter or something like that. So you need to learn a lot about that.
Right.
I think right now the movement is still growing,
Yes.
and for something which is like, if you compare the world to Bhutan, Bhutan is like very early on the LGBTQ plus movement, but it also gives us new opportunities, but it also at the same time it can be very sensitive. So I think the advice I would give to straight people, if you really want to be more inclusive of LGBT plus, is first, don't ask. If you really have to ask, you can be like, oh, can I ask you a question? And it's like quite sensitive, and then you can ask. If they say no, then you have to respect the no. And then when it comes to pronouns, if you don't know about them, you can ask about it. What are your pronouns? And if you really feel like the person is not comfortable, then I feel like the best thing is not to ask. And then there are many of my friends, at the first time I came out, they were not that, they were not sensitive in the questions they asked, but they didn't know about it, so they wanted to know about it. They were like, why are you gay? Why are you, why do you do like that? Why are you not transgender? Why are you not dressing like this? But it's okay to be curious because we're human beings.
Yeah.
Human beings are curious, but it's not okay to be insensitive. So if you're curious, then you can always Google it. And if you really want the answers, you can always reach out to the 2 platforms in Bhutan, Queer Voices Bhutan or Pride Bhutan, and then we'll give you the answers. That way, if your curiosity will be quenched, and then no one will be offended. So,
So you give your advice to straight people. Now I want to know, what advice do you want to give someone?
Go to Australia. It's better.
Nice. What advice would you like to give to someone who is still in closet, and then just like finding hard to come out, maybe thinking about their parents, the society, their friends, or maybe they are just in the process to finding, like knowing exactly who they are so that they can come out. So, any advice?
So if you're still in the closet, or if you're still confused, I would love to tell you that this is one of the best places to be. Because that is where you reflect on yourself the most. And then people think self-reflection has to happen at night while writing on a book. But these kind of moments really make you think, okay, what does this mean? Who am I? And everything. And you can take as much time as you want. And if you don't want to say it, you don't even have to say it. Because, first of all, let me talk about being confused. If you never heard, I'll tell you a word. It's called queer. You can either use it instead of LGBT plus, but if you really dive into it, it means questioning. So if you're not sure if you're straight or you don't have, or specifically what your sexuality or gender identity is, you can just say you're queer. And that queer, the word queer gives you an umbrella of who you might be. It's called, I would like to say, fluidity. So it gives you the space to actually, space to explore. So right now I identify as queer. I used to say I'm gay, but right now I'm queer because I'm not actually sure if I'm not attracted to girls. So I might be. So that's why I say I'm queer, because I don't understand myself fully. And I'm giving myself that space to understand it. So there's always this word queer if you're not fully, if you don't fully understand yourself. The word queer is there for you to have a space of your own understanding and exploration. And if you're still in the closet, I'd love to tell you that the closet is a safe space, because you create your own closet. And being in there, you're safe, no one knows about it, and you can decide when to come out. And it's just one door away, and there will always be people out there who will, let me first warn you, there will always be people out there who will judge you. There will be. But there will always also be people who will love you. There will also be people who wouldn't care. There will be people who care too much. So there will be diverse people out there, and then it is your decision when to come out of the closet. And the closet is what you make it. It is not important for you to always stay in there, or important for you to come out. But it is your choice and up to you. And if you're scared and if you don't know what to do, there's always Pride Bhutan and Queer Voices Bhutan. where you can talk with, and then we promise and we sign about it that your confidentiality will be kept, because that if that's not kept, then it doesn't make sense for us to have an institution like that. So I want to say that be in the closet as long as you wish, as long as you feel comfortable, because one day you'll feel comfortable enough to just say who you are, or not say and still be out there. So don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. I don't want to say don't be afraid, because you're allowed to be afraid.
I think that point. One thing I wanted to know is it now easier for the younger generation to come out than it was before in Bhutan? Another one is like you said, no? Some people remain in closet as long as they want. Some people discover their sexuality even at the age of 60. Some gay people are there who had girlfriends before, and then they are married and they have kids. And I do know some people who are married, they have kids, and then they are also like they are gay. And then like the questions they get is like, oh my God, suddenly what happened? You were not gay before, you had girlfriends, you are married, and suddenly now, like you're suddenly out of nowhere, you're gay, like how did, but I think it's like they were always there, so even I don't understand, so I'm asking you, like, what kind of situation they were in? Would you like to, like, do you have any idea about it, like what kind of situation made them to have that straight relationship before even marry and then later come out as gay, because you can't just change overnight,
Your first question is easier, right?
Yeah.
So I'll say even right now, coming out is subjective. It might be hard for some people, it might be easy for some people, it might be medium for some people. So I can't actually say it's easy or not. So I'll say it's subjective, because for each individual, it's their own experience. Some it's bad, some it's good, some it's mediocre. And for the older generation, I would say that's why we have the word queer. Because before LGBT plus itself started in Bhutan, we had straight or out of the society. So you had to be straight. So people, I told you before, no? When a question comes from inside, you have to answer it. So during that time, they did not have an environment where they were able to ask these questions. As soon as the question came, they were like, no, it's disgusting, it's bad.
I'm a biological male, I have to have girlfriends and all that. Okay.
Yes. It's not right, they would say, and they would really deny everything. And that's why men during that time were forced, even gay men at that time were forced to date women when they didn't want to, and same with women, straight women, gay women who were forced to marry and have children, because we have to have children, we have to get married. But right now, as we can see, there are many people coming up. And during those times, they did not have the environment to do that. But right now, the environment is growing, which allows them to actually say, okay, I was like that, and the questions are coming back. Their bodies are asking those questions again, and they're finally listening to it, and they're answering it right now. And they might feel like it's too late, oh, I'm already married, I have children. But sexuality does not have an age. And if you were born in such an environment, it's normal that you would, always turn straight. You were born in a very discriminating environment. Even I was straight when I grew up, because there was no one there who told me about being gay. I had to Google it myself, then I knew about it. Because I only knew that I found men very good looking. But I had to love women. So even in that environment, I had to be straight. And imagine growing up like into an adult in that environment. Of course, you would have to marry. Of course, you have to have children, because that was what the standard was. But now the standard is not like that anymore. There are new environments coming up that where you question yourself, it's validated, and you are allowed to do that. So that's why I feel like men are able to explore more. The ones who trapped themselves before, they're now able to free themselves. even better and think about, okay, say, might be confused, or might be bisexual and everything like that. Because right now we have resources, right now we have representation, we have visibility. That's why. And I feel like it's never too late. You just take your time. That's why coming out is subjective.
Such a short session, but yes, I mean, so many things that, you know, I'm gonna go back home and reflect on. I mean, some things you said I did not have any idea about. So, yeah, learning, don't stop learning. So much out there to learn, honestly.
We're almost done.
Yeah, I think so. We covered
Quite a lot, actually, starting from the math trauma we had in high school. So before we wrap up, is there any message you want to give it to, not just to the community you come from, but like as general, any message, anything you want to give the audience?
I think we talked a lot about learning, unlearning, and relearning, right? I think that I have a wallpaper here. It's called, it says, "We are all born so beautiful. The greatest tragedy is being convinced we are not." So we learn that we are beautiful because as babies, no one calls us ugly. No one says ugly baby. Oh, look, it's so cute, look, it's so beautiful. You know, that baby is so nice. We're taught to be so beautiful because we are born beautiful. And through life, we are taught, okay, this is not good, this is not right, your nose is too big, your ears are too big, this clothes doesn't suit you, and then we're convinced that we're not beautiful. So I feel like we learn to be beautiful, we unlearn to be beautiful, but now we have to relearn.
so beautifully put. Oh my god.
I'm beautiful. I'm apt.
Oh, I know. Hey, thank you so much for this reminder.
Yeah.
Honestly, often
We tend to
forget
these
this.
things, you know, we're so caught up in
Yeah.
the day-to-day life, the career, this
Insecurity.
you know, big goals that we have to achieve, and these things that we kind of forget about the small basic things that we need to relearn. Thank you so much for
your valuable
time.
Like, share, and subscribe to Hive Mind.
Hive Mind.
Alright, that's high five for you.
Share, connect, grow.